going on, guys? Andrew Piluk here, back with another video. Today we're going to be looking at the top 25 free agents going into free agency on July 1st. Now, depending on when you're watching this video, some of these players might have already signed contracts to stay with their team, or maybe you're watching this after free agency, I don't know. But this is the top 25 according to TSN. I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with where they're placed, but I'm leaving you guys a little bit of room on the side here so I can show you guys the graphics, so that way we can look at this together and discuss on where we think these players may go, and what value they might get if they're going to get a lower contract or maybe get an increase in pay. So without further ado, hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'd love to have more hockey conversations with you. Join the squad. We're on our way to 3,000 subscribers. Hopefully you guys will subscribe real quick and like the video if you like it. So let's get right into it. And of course, like I said, we're going to start at number 25. And that's Devontae Smith-Pelly from Washington. He's a right winger. He's 26 years old. In 75 games played, he had 7 goals and 16 assists, and he was earning $650,000 last year. So obviously, he's going to get an increase. Not by a ton. He'll probably earn just over $1 million. For these guys near the bottom of the list, and I'm saying the bottom of the list because that's essentially where they are. There's like 75 guys that they listed out on TSN, but I didn't want to bore you guys to death because that video would probably be quite long. But I'm going to spend not too much time on the guys towards the bottom of the list that I'm providing you guys. And that's no diss to them. But like I said, he's going to earn a little bit of an increase. Whether or not that's with Washington, I doubt it. But there's a lot of guys towards the bottom of this list that will probably be good role players for contending teams or teams that may want to keep those guys in at the trade deadline, ship them off to contenders. You never know. Or they could fit in anywhere and stick around. So I think Devontae Smith-Pelly is definitely a guy that you can have as a depth player, but there are quite a few wingers on this list, so we'll have to see where he ends up. Next is Tobias Rieder, or some people say Ryder. I could tell me, am I wrong? I thought it was Tobias Rieder, but from the Kings, he's a winger as well. He's 25 years old. In 68 games played, he had 12 goals and 25 points. Yeah, so that's how it's listed out. It goes team, position, age, games played, goals, points, and their salary from last season. And he was making just over $2 million. I'm not really sure if he's going to earn the same amount. I mean, putting up 25 points doesn't exactly mean you're going to get an increase. Depending on where he ends up, I think that it could be another one of those just over $1 million contracts. He didn't play a full season, so he could have put up more points, but I can't see him really getting more than what he was already making. And number 23 is Anthony Duclair. Now, this is a guy that I would look out to be a dark horse pick this year, to be a decent free agent pickup. He played with Arizona last year. He was a winger, 22 years old, 56 games played. He had 11 goals and 23 points, and he was earning just over $1 million. He could probably earn about the same this year as well. I'm sure he could probably earn a 2 to 3 year contract. I am a big fan of him, and that's why I say I think he'll end up with a decent team looking for good depth, and he could put up some more points depending on who he plays with. And number 22 is Michael Grabner, a guy that I probably would have put a lot higher on this list, although sometimes he can be hot and cold. He didn't have the greatest run with the Devils at the end there. He's a right winger, 30 years old. Last year, he played in 70 games, had 27 goals and 36 assists, and he was making just over $1 million. So he definitely had a good year, put up a lot of goals again. For the value that he's getting. Somebody is going to overpay a little bit for him. I'd honestly like to see him just go back to the Rangers and probably still put up decent numbers. If I'm not mistaken, the Bruins were interested. There's a lot of teams that are going to be looking for his speed. His breakaway chances have gotten a lot better. If you're a Leaf fan, you would know that Grabner wasn't the best when he was on a breakaway, but with the Rangers especially, he got better at that, and maybe the Devils will hold on to him. They could always use another decent player for their lineup. I just didn't think he was the best fit. Number 21 is Ian Cole, a guy who did pretty good for Columbus down the stretch. Of course, he's a defenseman, 29 years old. In 67 games played, he had 5 goals and 20 points, and he was making just over $2 million. I would have liked to see him stay in Columbus. I'm not sure where they're at with that, but I could see him staying there. Was a good fit after he was traded. And I believe it was from Pittsburgh, and I think a lot of teams would be interested in Ian Cole. He's not going to be too expensive, and he'll do a decent job for you. And number 20 is Calvin DeHaan, a guy who a lot of teams are going to be looking at for a lower cost defenseman. He was with the Islanders. He's 27 years old, and in 33 games played, he had 1 goal and 12 assists. So he's got to stay healthy. He's got to put up more points for what he was being paid, because it was just over $3 million or $3.3 million. He definitely will probably be paid less, in my opinion. Some people are saying he might get a pay raise. I don't see that, to be honest with you. I think that he is a good defenseman, and he could help out a team in either their middle pairing or their bottom pairing, and I think he'll be a kind of a dark horse pick as well. At number 19 is Robin Lehner. I'm not a huge fan of him. He was with Buffalo, 26 years old, 53 games played. He had just over 3 goals against average and a just over 900 save percentage, and he was making just over $2 million. Again, I said I'm not a big fan of him. I think he's a little bit of a hothead. I'm glad Buffalo's moving on, it looks like, and I think that there are a lot of teams that will look at him as a backup option. Just do not see him as a starter. I've been saying it for the longest time. Even when he was on his hot stretches, I said I do not value him as a starter. But again, I'm no genius. This is just my opinion. I don't think he should be starting. He might be a backup somewhere else. Number 18 is Brooks Orpik. He was traded to the Colorado Avalanche, who then bought him out. Obviously defenseman, 37 years old, 81 games played, so he stayed pretty healthy. He had no goals but had 10 assists, and he was making over $5 million last season. That money has to go down. Some people are saying that Washington might be interested in bringing him back, and I do believe a lot of teams will be interested in him as a depth defenseman. He won't be making nearly as much as he was. He probably won't get a lot of term either, but I mean, he is a Stanley Cup champion at this point, so hopefully he does get in somewhere else. It's just, I can't really see him being a valued piece, probably just a bottom pairing guy, and that could sound harsh, but I just don't see him making a huge impact this upcoming season. At number 17 is Derek Ryan from Carolina. He's a centerman, and a lot of teams are looking for centermen right now. He's 31 years old. He had, in 80 games, he had 15 goals and 38 points, and he was making just over $1 million. Now, this could be another valuable piece for depth for a team. I could see a team like maybe New Jersey being interested, maybe even Boston. Definitely a good pickup if you can get him for the right price. He will be due for a raise, of course, and that goes for the next guy too, at number 16, Riley Nash. He's probably going to get a pretty decent raise. He is a centerman as well. He's 29. I'm going to keep messing that up. In 76 games played, he had 15 goals and 41 points, so pretty similar to Derek Ryan. And yeah, he's due for a raise. These guys, I'd probably bunch them together in the fact that they're both going to get a significant raise. Not too crazy, but enough that teams are going to overpay just a tad to try to sway them over to their team. Good players, good depth pieces, of course. And number 15 is Jonathan Bernier, a guy who could be very valuable for a team as a backup goaltender. He's 29. In 39 games played, he had a 2.85 goals against average and a .913 save percentage, and he was making nearly $3 million. He'll probably end up making close to the exact same or a little bit more. Definitely a good piece as a backup for a team in need. He would probably serve as a decent mentor as well. He's not like super old or anything. It's just he knows how the game is played. He can help a young goaltender out, so I think he's a valuable piece going into this free agency. At number 14 is Michael Kempny, a defenseman, 27 years old, 53 games played. He had 3 goals and 10 assists, and he was making $900,000. Not going to talk too much about Michael Kempny other than the fact that Washington is probably going to hold on to him. I haven't read too much on it, but I would hope Washington would hold on to him. Seems like a good piece for their team, still pretty young, and with defensemen you never know, they could break out at any point, and I feel like if he does break out, Washington could probably sign him to a decent deal right now, or any team, mind you, could sign him to a decent deal right now, and it could work out in their favor. And number 13 is Patrick Maroon, who I thought was a fantastic fit with the New Jersey Devils once he was traded there from the Edmonton Oilers. Of course, he's a left winger. He's 30 years old. In 74 games played, he had 17 goals and 43 assists. I think that he should go back to the Devils, depending on how much they want to pay him. He was being paid $2 million last season. He will get a raise. The Oilers should be interested in bringing him back, in my opinion, but I'd like to see him stay with the New Jersey Devils. At number 12 is Thomas Vanek. He was with the Columbus Blue Jackets. He had a pretty decent year last year as a winger. He's 34 years old. In 80 games played, he had 24 goals and 56 total points. Now, I'm hoping that this whole time I wasn't saying assists, because that is their total points, not assists. It's goals then assists in these columns. He was making $2 million as well. Vanek is the guy that could probably go back to Vancouver, and if they feel like they need to move him again, they can move him at the deadline. Unfortunately, Vanek gets shipped around a lot, but I actually thought he was a good fit with the Canucks as well. So if he went back there, I wouldn't even be mad if they offered him 2 to 3 years at a decent price, for like $3 million maybe. You're probably not going to get him that cheap, but I feel like that's fair value. At number 11 is John Moore, a defenseman, again, decently young at 27 years old. This guy is probably going to be getting a pretty decent raise, nothing too crazy, but he will be getting a raise as defenseman. A lot of teams are looking for it this offseason. In 81 games played, he stayed healthy. He had 7 goals and had 18 total points. And like I said, he was making just under $2 million. He's going to get a raise. Nothing too crazy. I'd expect the Devils to want to hold on to him. But again, teams looking for good young defensemen that can play on their middle or bottom pairing definitely should be interested in John Moore. Alright, next graphic up for the top 10 according to TSN, and I do agree with a lot of these guys on this list. Like, how could you not? These are the best guys that you're going to be able to acquire via free agency. At number 10 is Carter Hutton, a guy that's going to be valued quite a bit and probably overpaid a little bit. He was with St. Louis, of course. He's a goaltender, 32 years old. Played 32 games last season and had a very effective year with a 2.09 goals against average and a .931 save percentage, and was just paid over $1 million. He is going to get a significant raise, in my opinion, because teams may value him as a starting goaltender, and that could be the New York Islanders. So if he does go there, he will get some term, he will get paid quite a bit. And I expect him to get a lot of offers, and I'm pretty sure with the talk around Twitter and everything like that is that teams are already lining up for his services, whether that's being a starter or a backup, so expect him to go pretty quickly. And number 9 is Jack Johnson, a defenseman from the Columbus Blue Jackets. Again, this guy's been in a lot of trade rumors over the years, but he's a defenseman, like I said, 31 years old. He played in 77 games last year. He had 3 goals and 11 total points and was paid just over $4 million. He's not going to get paid that much. I'm not sure why he's this high on the list, in my opinion, or I guess this low as at number 9. Don't really see him as a guy that's going to get paid nearly as much as he did. And I don't really value him more than some of the defensemen that were on this list. That's not to say he sucks and, you know, he's not going to get a contract. He's definitely going to go somewhere, whether that's with Columbus or not. It looks like they're probably done with him, but I see him as a bottom pairing guy, really. And, I mean, that's all I got to say about him. At number 8 is David Perron from the Vegas Golden Knights. Winger who had a very good year at 30 years old. In 70 games played, he had 16 goals and 66 total points, and he was paid just under $4 million. Now, he's probably going to get more than that. He's probably going to get a bit of term. If I'm Perron, I'm sticking right with the Vegas Golden Knights, but it's looking like he could be gone. I don't think he's going to put up those numbers anywhere else, to be honest with you. There might be some teams where he fits in, but I would rather him stay with the Knights. I think it was a good fit. I think that the team values him, and hopefully they offer him a decent contract, because I feel like that's where he's going to put his best numbers up. At number 7 is Rick Nash, formerly playing with the Boston Bruins after being traded there before the deadline. He's a winger, 33 years old. In 71 games played, he had 21 goals and 34 total points and was paid just under $8 million. He's definitely not going to get paid that much money. He'll probably get around the $5 to $6 million range with the cap going up. If he gets any more than that, I would be really surprised, and that would probably suck for the team signing him, depending on the term. Boston's probably not going to hold on to him. They might if it's a last resort thing. I'm not sure he's really at the top of their list. There's been rumors that he might try to go back to Columbus. I don't know how true those rumors are, but he's still a good piece for any team. I just don't think he's worth the money that he's probably going to get. And, I mean, that's all I really got to say about him. At number 6 is Tyler Bozak, who is very high on this list. And, I mean, I like the guy. I'm a Leafs fan, and I hope he stays in Toronto for a cheap deal, but a lot of teams are maybe overvaluing him a little bit too much. He's a good centerman. He wins a lot of draws. He's 32 years old. In 81 games played, again, a guy who stays healthy. He had 11 goals and 43 points, and he was paid $4.2 million. He's probably going to get that again, and I don't think he should. He's a decent guy on the draw. He can put up some points. He's pretty steady, but he is horrible defensively. If you watch James Van Riemsdyk, Tyler Bozak, and Connor Brown's line, Connor Brown did all of the defensive work, and it made Connor Brown look even worse. Bozak is not good defensively. Again, he's just good at taking draws and putting up a decent amount of points. For the money he's paid, though, I'm not really sure if that's worth it. On a one-year deal, maybe Bozak stays with the Leafs, but other than that, I don't know if the Leafs would be interested. At number 5 is Mike Green, a guy who's going to be overpaid heavily in this free agency. Now, at the trade deadline, I was hoping the Leafs would go after him, and apparently they did, but he didn't want to go to Toronto. Again, this could just be rumors, but on a long-term deal, I would not be interested in Mike Green. He's a defenseman, of course, 32 years old, 66 games played. He had 8 goals and 33 assists, and he was paid $6 million. Now, because John Carlson, that is, signed back with the Washington Capitals, he is technically the best offensive defenseman available in the free agency period, maybe the best defenseman period available. He's probably not going to stay with the Red Wings because they might not want to overpay for him. Maybe they will, but he's going to get paid more than he should. He puts up points. He's a good power play guy, but other than that, I don't really see the value in him. A lot of Leaf fans seem like they want to get rid of Jake Gardiner and pick up Mike Green, but it's no comparison. Gardner's the better defenseman. I don't care what anybody says. It would be very stupid. And number 4, James Neal from the Vegas Golden Knights, another guy who's rumored to be leaving. He's a left winger, 30 years old, 71 games played last year. He had 25 goals and 44 total points. I would stick with the Vegas Golden Knights if I'm James Neal. I think that he had a lot of success there when a lot of people didn't expect all the success that a lot of guys had there. Sometimes when your career is going in the right direction like he is with Vegas, I think that he should stay there. I think it would make more sense. Depending on where he plays, I'm not sure if he puts up the same amount of points, just like Perron. And number 3 is Paul Stastny, a guy that a lot of teams should be lining up for. He is the value in this free agency, in my opinion. He's a centerman, 32 years old. He played in all 82 games. Did very good with Winnipeg when he got traded there as well. He had 16 goals and 53 total points on a $7 million contract last season. Now, he's probably going to get a quite similar contract. When Tavares is gone, teams are going to be lining up to pay Stastny. And guess what? I think that team should be. Maybe overpaying a little bit, but he is a very valuable piece. I really like Stastny. I think that he's a fantastic hockey player. A team is going to be very lucky to get him. I'm a huge fan of him, and I hope that he has another really good year next year. And number 2 is James Van Riemsdyk, a former Maple Leaf at this point, because I do not believe he will stay with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's a winger. He's 29. I keep doing that. In 81 games played, he had 36 goals and 54 total points in a just over $4 million contract. He was one of the best contracts in the league. Defensively, he's bad. He scores a lot of goals, and he puts up a decent amount of points, but he's valuable on like a power play and out front of the net. Other than that, you're not going to get much value from him on the defensive side. Like I said before, the Bozak, Van Riemsdyk, Brown line was terrible defensively because of him and Bozak if you watch the games. It's not on Connor Brown, it was on Van Riemsdyk and Bozak, and that's not just because he's one of the young guys. Van Riemsdyk definitely had to be better defensively, and he wasn't, but again, a great goal scorer, and he's probably going to end up with the Devils. And of course, at number 1 is John Tavares. We've heard a bunch about him, and it won't be the last time you hear a bunch about him. 27 years old, 82 games played last year, very healthy, 37 goals, 84 points, just over $5 million, and he is easily going to double that contract. Depending on where he goes, which it's probably going to be the Islanders, he's going to get paid with term, and he's going to make a ton of money that he deserves. He's one of the best players in the game, and I can't wait to see what happens. Of course, I'd love to see him in Toronto, but I just love Tavares, and for the Islanders fans' sake, maybe he should stay with the Islanders and help them build towards winning a Stanley Cup eventually. They're not there yet, in my opinion, of course. I don't think anybody believes that, but Tavares is a fantastic hockey player. What can you say? This video has been super long. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I've got all the energy in the world. Before this video, I didn't really have it, I'm not going to lie, but let me know what you guys think about this video. Where is everybody going to sign? You can leave it down in the comment section down below. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I said that about 50 times. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Love to have more hockey conversations with you. There's loud noise going on upstairs. I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Peace.